And this meta-analysis is normally using the pool of different results which are available in the literature. And then we have the field study, which is the real life studies in the organizations. And thirdly, we have the laboratory study where we use the simulation and control setting to assess the different attributes of the organization and individuals. We can have the case studies analysis where a single situation can be studied in very depth based on the existing theories and knowledge. And then we have the survey or questionnaire studies, which is more common, which may be involving the questionnaires or structured surveys or focal group discussions. And here we most of the time have the field work. So this is just an example that how the WestJet Airlines employees work together. This is basically from the Canada that a Calgary-based WestJet airline employees are given a lot of freedom to manage themselves. Clabedo, a company's president and CEO, was determined to create a company where people wanted to manage themselves. So the philosophy of the manager or the chief executive was mostly based on this empowerment, employee empowerment. At WestJet, employees are asked to be responsible for their task rather than rely on supervisor to tell them what to do. That includes, Bido, I don't direct things, he say. We set some standards and expectations, but I don't interfere in how our people do their jobs. Instead, employees are given guidelines for the behavior. For instance, flight attendants are directed to serve customers in caring, positive, and cheerful manner. How do they carry that out? It is up to them. Employees also share tasks. When a plane lands, all employees of the flight, even those who are flying off duty, are expected to prepare the plane for its next takeoff. Obviously, WestJet can lower its costs by keeping the number of supervisors down. The company operates within about 60 employees per aircraft, while the typical full-service airline such as Air Canada needs more than 140. But allowing employees to manage themselves is a bigger benefit. Bedo believes it encourages employees to take pride in what they do. They are the ones making the decisions about what they are doing and how are they doing, says Bedo. So this is just telling that how WestJet line is going to empower the employees, and how this employee empowerment is then creating an opportunity for the development of the organization. Now, there are some challenges in the organizations. For example, the most common is the individual differences, because all the human beings are created differently, having their different background, perspectives, values, attitudes. And this really then makes the job of the supervisor and leaders very difficult, because they will have individual differences. Now, as a principle, these individual differences may lead to some benefit also. The job satisfaction is another challenge, because it varies with the employees and the organization. But certainly, it is related to many other attributes, and we will discuss. Another challenge is to improve the productivity of organization through an equitable motivation system. And then the empowerment that giving the decision power and delegating the decision power at different levels with an attempt to enable the employees to take their decisions, but at the same time, making it sure that no unethical action is taken. And for that, the ethical behavior in the organization is now becoming a big challenge. At the group level, when we talk about the challenges, we have the biggest challenges to work with other people. And some of the important skills we need for the working with others may include the communicating, thinking, learning, working, and positive attitude. Another important challenge in the group level is the workforce diversity, because we see that the people coming from different ethnic, cultural, religious, or linguistic backgrounds may work. There may be some disabled people, and there may be some different demographic characteristics. So how can we make the organization as a cohesive force to achieve the common goal while maintaining the diversity is another challenge. Similarly, productivity and effectiveness and efficiency again is a challenge. And effective implies so that they can behave the organizational citizens, and their behavior is called organizational citizenship behavior. Another challenge is to take care of the people and putting them first so that their values and their requirements are respected and taken care of. Then the global competition within the organizations at the global level is another very big challenge, which is coming up and finally the managing and working in the multicultural world. Now, some of the successful practices which are adopted by the successful organizations, and as given by Jeffrey Piffer of the Stanford Graduate School of Business, involved, for example, the employment security. At the top of everything, the security of the job is very important. And then hiring the people who have the right skills and ability, creating self-managed team by empowering them to make the decisions, and then giving them suitable compensation, extensive trainings and development is really very important in the fastly changing dynamics of the organization, both internally and externally. Then another very important attribute is to value the employees and to give them the importance of their value to the organization. And finally, a system which must be able to share the information among the people within the organization. Now, this is a case study which tells us that how the UPS manager could cut turnover, and I would leave it to the students to study and give the reflections, their personal reflections on it. Well, students, you have seen that some of the recipes are given, and really very important that, and I believe that to be positive, to be trusting others, to facilitate others, to be more accountable, and to be more proactive about these situations, and to be more decisive are some of the very important attributes of the leaders. With this, I think the first session about the organization behavior is over. And in this session, we mainly focused on the importance of OB for the organizations and how the field of OB has been developing in the last few decades, which has been incorporating the important attributes from behavioral sciences like psychology, sociology, anthropology, and then political science, making a very interesting set of knowledge which can be very effectively used to the organizations. Now, when I look at my experience with the organizations, I believe that the first and the most important attribute which the leaders must have is to ensure that merit and justice is made as a culture and a value at the top of everything. The transparency and the rule of law is something which brings credibility and trust of the employees in the organizations. So if you really want to bring positive changes in the organization, I believe that the most important thing is to ensure that merit and justice is dispensed of at all the levels. To this end, you have to ensure that transparency and accountability is placed, and access to the information by the people is made easier so that their perception about the merit and the justice is based on evidence and ground realities. The second important thing I believe is to ensure that individual and collective team commitment is there. And to this end, I believe that when we talk about the individuals, we have to understand their personal values, their mutual differences, their individual performance and problems with them, and their training and development needs. When we talk about the collective team productivity or team performance, then we again need to understand the terms like team dynamics, politics, group politics, and the power within the groups and teams. And the third very important thing, which I believe is very important for the organization to develop, is the mutual respect. And that would mean that respecting everyone, anywhere in the organization, at any level. The trust and the climate of trust which we as leaders need to develop would solely depend on the magnitude of respect which individuals and teams have for each other. And to this end, the role of leadership is really very important to develop a climate in which the people are respecting each other. Now, the difference in opinions and the difference in individuals is one of the very strong attributes of the society and the organizations, but certainly this must be allowed to the extent that it is leading to more creativity and analytical thinking. Nevertheless, the organizational values in the organizational code of conducts and ethics are really very important. And any member of the organization will have to respect the ethical integrity and the organizational ethics. Dear students, ladies and gentlemen, I leave this last slide to you, which is just asking about some questions like what is organization behavior, what is organization, and how the organization behavior or individual behavior can be predicted, and why we say that organization behavior cannot be just a mechanist kind of approach, rather it is a more like a contingency approach, because you are dealing with different kinds of people and different kinds of groups. So maybe one solution which you have for a particular problem may not be working in all the environment, in all the cases, and that is what we call it as a contingency approach, that you have to look at the situations and see that what is can be the best solution for that particular problem, but at the same time keeping within the values of the organization. We see that there are three levels of organizational analysis. That first is individual, and then group, and the third is organization. And this progressively from individual to organization, the analysis of the organization behavior is really very important. Now, the challenges we discussed is the diversity, individual differences, the competition both at regional, national, and global levels, the trainings of the organization, human resource for the dynamics around us, and so on. Job satisfaction is really very important, because we will discuss in a very detail that if a person is satisfied with his job in terms of his achievements, or in terms of his compensation, or in terms of a mix of all these, then certainly the effectiveness and the performance of the organization would increase. And finally, the effectiveness and efficiency towards the productivity of organizations is also very important. The effectiveness, we normally refer to the decision making which leads to the desired results. And at the same time, the efficiency would mean to use the organizational resources in a way that we can have the maximum productivity. So certainly the efficiency or the efficient use of resources to achieve the desired results is the management challenge. In all the organization theory or the management theories mainly focused on these two attributes of the performance or productivity. So ladies and gentlemen, with this, we would finish our lecture today, and I would request my students to go through the lecture and give their comments. Have a nice time. Thank you very much.